Hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and you're about to listen to a wealth hypnosis session all about worthiness and self-sabotage. And now, I was working with a client that was very successful in the world of recruitment and helping people to get high-profile jobs and promotions, working with a lot of CEOs. But as a child, and as a teenager and as a young adult, experienced a lot of resentment and jealousy from their parents. And in the UK, there's this thing called the tall poppy syndrome, where if someone starts getting a bit too successful, there's almost this unconscious desire to chop them back down to size. And a popular phrase will be, "Who do you think you are? Do you think you're better than me?" Things like that, which basically say that it's okay to be successful, just not too successful. And it's a very unpleasant part of the cultural DNA in the UK. But because of that, there are a lot of people that hold themselves back. And by holding themselves back, that might be financially, they don't quite make the money they could or strive to the level of success in their career that is possible, unless something happens, and unless that thing is that those feelings of being disconnected either is given low priority and they just don't care, or that rather than being perceived to be punished by being successful, they actually have the opposite belief, which is that they're being rewarded for being successful. And any of those things that are a bit snarky or a bit resentful are just evidence that they are moving in the right direction. So if you can resonate with this idea of holding back, that you're not tapping into what you're capable of financially or income-wise, I think you'll get some value from this. Now, part of this was linked to my course, Hypnotic Wealth. I've created a course which delves into all of the different money blocks that get in the way of people being financially successful. So there's a couple of options right now other than just listening to this session. If you want to learn more about the course, have a look in the description. And if you want to do one-to-one sessions with me specifically on areas of money or wealth or financial blocks, book a free consultation call and we'll have a chat on Zoom. For now, though, I want you to find a quiet, comfortable place where you're not going to be distracted or disturbed. Relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in, imagine breathing in pure worthiness. And as you exhale, give permission to release any echoes of the past, particularly from childhood. Anything related to being held back, not being allowed to move forward, breathing in that worthiness and exhaling any limitations, any restrictions. And if worthiness had a color, what color would it have? A solid color, or perhaps a cocktail of colors. Imagine breathing in whatever color or colors of worthiness. Imagine it going through your nose into your lungs and then to every cell in your body. I want you to get a feeling that as you breathe in that worthiness, imagine your self-worth as a power bank. And just imagine it has a percentage telling you what your current self-worth is. But as you breathe in that worthiness and exhale echoes and limitations, I want you to imagine that power bank of worthiness is slowly charging up. Each breath, perhaps 1 extra percent. That's it. And therefore, the deeper you breathe, the more relaxed and worthy you feel. And the longer you exhale, the more limitations you're releasing. Each breath taking you deeper and deeper relaxed. If you need to position your body to make yourself more comfortable, do that now. And with your eyes closed, notice how much easier it becomes to really focus on the sound of my voice. Breathing in that worthiness, exhaling out the limitations. And as you breathe, allow the body to begin unwinding. Sometimes people can feel like a coiled spring. All that tension, all that pressure, most of it from the past. But if every outward breath is a release, perhaps you can notice your shoulders relaxing, jaw softening, even the muscles around the eyes releasing. Because when you breathe slowly, particularly on the outward breath, it sends a signal to the nervous system, a signal of safety. And when the body feels safe, the mind becomes open to new ideas, new perspective, new ways of thinking. The deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you feel. The more relaxed you feel, the deeper you breathe. And as your body relaxes, your imagination awakens. And as your mind becomes calm and receptive, you can start to observe your own beliefs. And maybe there's a belief buried deep from long ago. An idea that success leads to punishment. In many parts of the world, there's a tall poppy syndrome. People start moving forward. Others around them try and knock them down to size. With phrases like, "Who do you think you are? You think you're better than us?" I want you to connect, perhaps with a memory of when you felt that way. Knowing that it's rational for a belief to be formed if something you valued, like love, affection, approval, was withheld, and in some cases given the opposite: mockery, shame, disapproval. At a time when you did something well, when you achieved something meaningful, or stood out in some way. And if things were as they should have been, you should have received encouragement, acknowledgement, support and approval. But maybe back then you received something different. Maybe it was criticism, mockery, withdrawal of warmth, or discomfort from others. And a young mind can easily form a rule that says, if I succeed, if I start doing too well, something bad might happen. But you are not your past. And you can see that for what it really was. Projection. Perhaps they were projecting their own insecurities, their own internal resentments and disappointments onto you. And a quick thought experiment can easily verify that. If they had been as successful as they could have been, if they were thriving, if they had abundance, would they have given you the same reaction? You already know the answer. You were not being punished. You were simply the scapegoat for their own dissatisfaction. You now know with absolute certainty those reactions were never punishment. They were insecurity projected onto you. Other people responding to their own limitations, their own fears, their own comparison. And I want you to go back to those moments again. Moments when someone reacts with jealousy or resentment, still as an observer. But I want you to interpret that signal differently now. Not as punishment, but as evidence, irrefutable evidence that you are moving forward. Evidence that you are capable, that you are growing. Evidence that you are stepping into something powerful. People rarely react strongly to someone who is staying small or achieving less than they are. Insecure people react when someone is rising, when they're living their dreams, their mission, their purpose. So from this moment forward, those reactions become confirmation. Confirmation that you are moving in exactly the right direction. And your mind can also recognize something logical. That real punishment is very different. Real punishment is physical harm. Real punishment is imprisonment. Real punishment is isolation. And you being successful is none of those things. And the more you think about it, the truer it becomes, until it becomes impossible to hold that old belief that success leads to punishment. When you define punishment accurately, and when you look at what actually happened in the past, you weren't punished. You just triggered insecurity in others. Because you know with certainty that success leads to freedom. Freedom of choice, freedom of time, freedom of opportunity. Success is rewarded with financial reward, professional respect, expanded possibilities. And I wonder if that belief is already dissolving. That old absurd belief that success is punishment. In fact, try to believe that. And the harder you try, the more elusive that old belief becomes. Because the mind now understands something simple and true. Success is a stepping stone to abundance, a stepping stone to reward. Now imagine your beliefs about money as if they were written on an old school blackboard. Perhaps some old messages are still there. Messages like, I shouldn't charge too much. People won't pay that. I shouldn't ask for what I'm worth. And I want you to remember an old board rubber. You know, the ones to wipe the board clean. And just stare. Stare at those words that aren't true anymore. And just wipe that board clean. Replacing those ideas with new principles. Principles based on truth. Value deserves compensation. Expertise deserves recognition. Transformation deserves reward. And when someone benefits from your work, you deserve to be rewarded. And it becomes completely natural for that value to be reflected financially. And I wonder if you could imagine a future version, not too far in the future, just a few months, a version of you already living without those old limitations, a version of you that trusts their own value, a version of you who speaks clearly about the impact you create, a version of you that sets their prices with calm confidence, not because they are forcing anything, but because you know the value you provide. And I want you to notice how that version of you responds. Perhaps when presenting a price or an offer, when responding to an email or a message about costs. I want you to see a version of you that is relaxed, certain, self-respecting. That version of you does not hold back. That version of you allows themselves to test what you are capable of. You allow yourself to play at the next level up, working with ever more influential clients, negotiating meaningful outcomes, creating financial abundance for them and you. Because a martyr is someone that helps others at the expense of themselves. You're no martyr. As your clients benefit, you benefit. And the more you benefit others, the more credibility you have, the more people seek you out, and the more comfortable you feel being completely visible. Other people don't like it. That's their issue, not yours. And I want you to allow that future version of you to give the present version of you permission. Permission to stop holding back. Permission to charge appropriately. Permission to close opportunities before the window closes itself. Permission to succeed without guilt or shame. And if you're willing to take that permission from yourself to yourself, because no one else will give it to you, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. When you succeed, you are not taking anything from anyone. You are creating value. Some people believe that financial success is a reflection of how much value you create for the world, which means the more financially successful you are, the more evidence that you have that you're doing something meaningful, important, and valuable. And abundance flows naturally from that. And then step into that future identity now. Someone who is financially worthy. Someone with recognition of their own expertise. Someone who just expects abundance as a natural outcome of contribution. And if that old belief tries to appear like a bad smell or an old echo, your mind simply smiles, because you now know the truth. Success is not punishment, and it never was. It's reward, it's freedom, it's abundance. And as these ideas and new beliefs settle and take root deep into your mind, you may already notice a shift. A quiet sense of confidence, a sense of expansion, a willingness to step forward. And so from now on, each opportunity becomes something you can evaluate and seek out calmly. And each success becomes evidence of your worthiness, not a reason to step back from it. Allow all of these new thoughts, ideas, and feelings to integrate, assimilate, and resonate as it's time to return. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes as you connect and calibrate into the here and the now. As I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.